It depends on which of those occurred, Tracy. First, if you went to trial and you were found guilty, then typically you have the right to file an appeal of your conviction with a federal appellate court. There are very short time delays after your sentencing on the charge that you have to file a request or a notice of appeal to appeal your conviction to a higher court. Typically that will go to a 3-judge panel on a federal court of appeal. Here in Louisiana, federal appeals go to the United States Court of Appeal for the 5th Circuit. So yes, if you're convicted and you believe that the conviction was not supported by the evidence, there was insufficient evidence to support a conviction, or that you had an affirmative defense and it was not considered properly, then yes, you should and can take an appeal to appeal your conviction, or if you feel like the sentence that was imposed was not correct, that it was excessive, for example, you can take an appeal to appeal the sentence that was imposed, even if you don't want to appeal the actual conviction itself. So yes, in that situation, you have a remedy of appeal. If you plead guilty to a crime and you're unhappy with the guilty plea, or you're unhappy with the sentence that was imposed as a result of that guilty plea, then whether you can take an appeal or not depends upon whether you reserved your right to appeal at the time you entered the guilty plea. So for example, most guilty pleas in federal court will require the defendant waive all appeals. So unless you reserve in the plea agreement that you want to appeal a particular issue, whether it be, the court denied a motion to suppress the evidence against you, and you want to plead guilty, but you want to reserve your right to appeal the denial of that motion to suppress, then typically, if you enter a plea of guilty, you've waived your appeals, and there's not really much you can do unless you reserved your right to appeal on a particular issue related to the guilty plea at the time you entered into the plea. Now, lastly, if you're convicted or plead guilty to a crime in federal court, there is a process for post-conviction relief if an error has been made, your sentence was illegal, or there's some other basis to set aside the conviction that you believe is authorized by law, then you can file a federal post-conviction relief application in federal court. But typically, you have a year within which to do so after you're sentenced.